about a product or a service that I provide, basically a little education session about hearing. And let me get to the PowerPoint thing here. Okay, and if I can make sure this is working. Before I start on the presentation, can you see that okay? I mean, it's a brown screen, so it's not real good. But today we're going to talk about, I just want to give you a little education about hearing loss, and how it affects us, particularly in speech. And the one thing I want to mention is there's a little audio presentation in here. And when I click the next slide, I never see that it's coming, so it will start right away. And I want to just explain that this little audio presentation was created by NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. As you can imagine, they're very concerned about communication and the ability to communicate with background noise, so they created this audio presentation to show how hearing loss affects people's ability to understand speech in a background noise. So, having said that, let's begin here. What does a hearing test measure? Well, that's what I want to talk to you about very quickly here. The answer, it measures one's ability to hear various tones from various low pitches to very high pitches. Okay? So we want to measure your ability to hear different tones of low to high pitch. Everyone begins to lose hearing as they reach age 40 or older, and that might surprise you. A loss begins in the very high pitch ranges where it is not initially noticed. So if you hit 40, it's very probable that your high frequencies are beginning to diminish a little bit and you haven't noticed it. A pure tone hearing test determines how well you hear at various pitches, from the very low pitches to the very high pitches. This is in the form of a graph, okay, and I'm going to show you that very quickly. And my little pointer here. If you look at the top of this graph, you'll see numbers from 250, or actually 125, up to 8,000. The very low pitches are down here. This would be like a ship's steam horn, you know, on a cruise ship, very low pitch. This would be very high, squeaky, squealy type of sound. The numbers along the vertical are loudness levels in decibels that we have to make the tone for you to just barely hear it. It's infinitesimal, you can just barely hear it. So I want you to understand that graph. And then that's what I just told you. The numbers across the top are the frequencies or the tones, and the numbers along the side are the loudness levels in decibels. I'm always ahead of my slides. And I just showed you that. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, well, the purpose is to determine the very faintest you can hear, and I already told you that, too. Now, this slide is showing you someone with perfectly normal hearing, and the red circles represent the person's right ear, and the blue X's represent the left ear. So what we're seeing here is that this person is listening to that very low-pitched tone. He hears it at literally 0 decibels, which is the faintest we can make it. So we put the circle for the right ear right there. The left ear hears that tone at 10 decibels, which is still very, very, very faint. And at what we can see here, and this says perfectly normal hearing, at each one of these tones, the person is hearing them at either 0, 10, 5, very, very low frequency levels, or decibel levels. If this curve was down here somewhere, that would be a hearing loss. The hearing loss range is anywhere from 0 to 20, okay? Or I mean the normal hearing range. This is perfectly normal hearing. If this whole X's and O's were down, let's say between 10 and 20, they'd still be within the normal range, but a very slight loss, okay? Here's what high frequency hearing loss looks like. Now you can't see the red circles as well, but normal hearing up here, but then you see the highs drop off. This is what happens naturally as we get older. And to say something else, if you work around any kind of a loud noise, or you use power tools, or you cut your grass with your own lawnmower, that adds to this problem, because noise permanently damages the hearing nerve, okay? So this is what a high-tone hearing loss looks like. These are some audiograms of real people. The one before that I created, but this is a real audiogram of a person with high-frequency hearing loss, another individual, another one. You can see they look similar in terms of those high pitches is where the curve drops down. Hearing loss and speech understanding. The first sign of hearing loss is not your inability to hear speech. It's your inability to understand speech clearly. That's very important to understand. It's not like when you start losing hearing, you just don't hear things going on. Why is this true? Because clarity and understanding are dependent on your ability to hear the consonants in words precisely, such as pie, tie, shy, high, sigh. The I is there for all of them, but the P, T, S, H, H, and S, that's what differentiates the meaning of the word. Okay? The most important consonants for clear understanding are the high-pitched sounds such as P, T, S, SH, or sh. Okay? Those are the sounds that are critical for understanding speech. And unfortunately, they are the very softest part of the speech word, or the word. Now you have this in front of you, this sheet that shows where these consonants fall on that hearing test graph, okay? And you can see a good deal of them fall up in this high-pitch range. So as the hearing drops down, as I showed you in those other graphs, that's right in the area where the consonants are not able to be heard. Now, at some point, I'm going to be getting to the slide where the audio presentation will come. So I'm going to turn this up. And what that audio presentation is going to show you, it's going to be a picture of two people sitting in a restaurant. This was, as I said, created by NASA. And you will hear the background noise of the restaurant. You will hear them speaking. And up in the corner, up here, you will see a little graph that looks like that hearing test that I was showing you. And you will see the high pitches drop and drop and drop. And at each drop, you will see auditorily the difference in the perception or the sound of the speech that the person is hearing. Okay? And at the end of this is a little statement that says, you may think this was kind of created for effect, but the fact is they took great pains to make this a very realistic demonstration of how high-frequency hearing loss affects speech perception. The important thing here is that reduced clarity is first noticed and most problematic when in the presence of background noise. That's where it really affects people. People in this room may have some high-frequency hearing loss, but in a quiet place like this, when I'm the only one speaking, it's not a problem. But at 7:15 networking time, that's where they may have a problem. And more people than you think have this problem. Here we go. Boy, I can't barely get any sound here. It was so loud yesterday. Keith, help me. We were blasting them out in the office. Oh, wait. Let's plug it into the computer.